Hello friends, Cowboy Jobu here with the Jobu Sports Report. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Because without you guys, this would be nothing. Now, of course, I always wonder, where would First Take be without the Dallas Cowboys? I mean, seriously, Tony Romo retires, and yet they're still talking about Tony Romo. Well, let's go to the Mickey Mouse Show and see what they have to say today.
Cowboys.
How about him, Sass? Accident waiting to happen no more. Tony Romo hanging up the cleats for Mike. The decision was based on health. Romo has endured a myriad of injuries in each of the last 2 seasons and has not started all 16 games since 2012. Romo will replace Phil Simms in the broadcast booth, joining Jim Nantz as CBS's #1 broadcast team. On that note, we bring out our friend Will Cain, who is committed, folks, joining us from the happiest place on earth. That would be Disney World. Hi, Will.
Hi. Speaking of #1, here's Will Cain.
I'm going to get out of the way for this one because I think Max has a question for you.
Will, are you prepared to admit defeat? I've drawn up the terms of surrender. I'm sure you're ready to sign.
What have I been wrong about, Max?
Do you want me to enumerate? First,
I want you to start with something.
You said Dak was not as good as Romo. Romo will be the starter. That never happened. Then you said Romo had plenty of trade value. In fact, he had 0. Then you accused me of needing a PhD in medicine to know that he was injury prone and his health would be a factor, and then he retired, essentially, citing his health.
Okay. That's it?
Yes, you can pick and choose among those.
Do you think that I came off of Space Mountain? I was on the Magic Cups, twirling around, the cups with my kids, twirling around at the happiest place on earth, and you think I came with these things on to be accountable to you, Max?
Oh, yes.
You think that's
and
what this is about?
to the American people.
This is, first of all, Max, I was wrong about none of that. Just because the Houston Texans have shown an ineptitude level of product liability to their fans. If I were Houston Texans fans, I would look into the prospect, especially a season holder, of filing a fraud lawsuit against Rick Smith, Bob McNair, the entire organization. Because if you think you're going to take that roster and win a Super Bowl with Tom Savage, you are perpetuating a fraud on your fan base. And Max, the fact that they don't think there's a trade value for Tony Romo, I mean, what can I do? I can't help incompetence out there. I can't create efficiencies and market inefficiencies when they exist. I'll tell you this, Max. I will tell you this. Are you willing to bet right now that by the end of the 2017 regular NFL season, Tony Romo will still be in that NFL CBS broadcasting booth?
Yep.
I'll tell you this, he won't be playing for the Texans.
You are watching the disintegration of a human being on television, ladies and gentlemen.
He still gave another prediction. He's not scared.
Well, Will Cain, first of all, I'm proud of you for a couple of things. Number one, you took off those ridiculous ears. That's beautiful to see on kids, but it was hard to take you seriously when you was wearing that stuff. That's
cute,
number
Will.
one.
I know it's dignified.
Number two, I'm sure you stood in line for a very, very long time before you got on Space Mountain because you have no clout whatsoever. Considering the fact that you sat up there, and talked so much trash about Tony Romo. Number three, getting back to Tony Romo. I love how you're pointing the finger at the Houston Texans. I love how you're evading the real issue. Is it possible, Will Cain, Tony Romo just doesn't want to play anymore because he knows he can't play for the Cowboys? That's what's really going on, that your dude is so in love with being a Cowboy that he just can't take the thought of playing for somebody else.
Let's get serious. First of all, see, Max? Let's get serious. First of all, Stephen A. just gave you your answer, Max. Clearly there was a market for Tony Romo. The Houston Texans are left right now with Tom Savage. They dumped Brock Osweiler in the hopes that they could get Tony Romo, and he decided retirement was better than manning that ship, was better than playing quarterback for the Houston Texans. So the answer to your question, Max, is Tony Romo chose to step out of this market for the time being, until possibly the prospect of playing for the Dallas Cowboys occurs again, in the remote chance, and he gave you the percentage, 1%, Dak Prescott gets hurt.
That's how you see Tony Romo.
Hold on, Max, you can survive this.
For a 7th-round pick for him? They didn't want him that bad.
That's their incompetence. If they did not do that,
the Broncos?
If they did not do that, that's their incompetence. Back to getting serious, about Stephen A's point. Tony Romo did step away because he couldn't be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and I respect that. I think every Dallas Cowboy fan respects that. He knows the true value of the star on your helmet. He knows the true value of playing for the preeminent franchise in the NFL. I'm not even being a homer. We've got Forbes rankings and all-time lists and regular season records and Super Bowl appearances that back all this up.
Are those the words that just came out of your mouth?
I think you're still
Hold on, Max. Are you going to sit up there with a straight face and act like you're not being a homer? Are you kidding me? Y'all haven't won a championship in 22 years. You never won more than one playoff game in the season when Tony Romo was a starting quarterback for 8.5 years. You yourself, you have to concede that you didn't expect and anticipate this kind of ending. And at the end of the day, you know what, you walked away. I think it was a smart thing for him to do, quite honestly, because we all know he's injury prone. But what about the big baby tendencies of, dare I say, Tony Romo, who doesn't want to play unless he can be a Cowboy, and since he knows he's not going to play, he's just going to be wearing the uniform. That's not good enough for him. How about that Tony Romo that should have been going after a Super Bowl? You could have ended up in Denver. You could have ended up in Houston, but he doesn't want a Super Bowl unless it's with the Cowboys?
I'm going back. If you don't be quiet, I'm putting my ears on. I'm headed back to Space Mountain. You had all day yesterday, all day to spew your nonsense. Sometimes, granted, I might be a tad bit of a homer when it comes to the Cowboys. Sometimes it takes a homer to balance out two haters, okay? The stuff that you guys do on this program for 2 hours at a time on a daily basis needs some balance. And here's the thing. You had all day, Stephen A., to express your confusion. You came on television yesterday and basically admitted to all of us you just can't understand why the nation, why the media is so entranced with Tony Romo. And here's why. It's because you have been setting, people like you, an agenda. You have been setting a narrative that is false, that is incorrect. Someone like me, while admittedly a little bit of a homer, is needed to bring back objectivity. Here's the objectivity. Tony Romo's story will always be underappreciated. I'm not sure it's over. It's a storybook story, by the way, coming out of undrafted free agent from Eastern Illinois to quarterback of America's team to franchise records. I'm not 100% sure it's the traditional heroic arc, by the way. A lot of it's in the nature of Star Wars. I'm not sure the story's over. Stephen A., we're talking about borderline Hall of Fame numbers here. We're talking about borderline Hall of Fame resume here. We're talking about a guy who's the 4th ranked passer rating of all time. We're talking about names like Brady, Breeze ahead of him. Brady, Breeze, Rodgers ahead of him. Wilson on these lists. This is Tony Romo. But you would have us believe he's only a guy that dropped a hold in a wild card playoff game against Seattle. You would have us believe all he is 2-4. You are not. You asked for objectivity yesterday. That is not what you give the people. You give them hate.
Hold on, Will Cain. I'd like to respond. First of all, your take is pathetic. And I'm dead serious. I'm not joking. A borderline Hall of Famer, he doesn't even warrant consideration. The man was good in the regular season. Very good. Very good does not make you a Hall of Famer. At some moment in time, you have a responsibility and onus placed on your shoulders to actually produce when it counts. That's what matters.
Stephen A.
If everything was about what you did from September to Christmas in a football season, there'd be a whole bunch of dudes that suddenly would be in there.
If Tony Romo won a Super Bowl, as I said yesterday, then he would be a borderline Hall of Famer. But that's a huge if. That's the glaring. That's the thing that's glaringly missing from his resume. As it is, Will Cain.
Let's talk about
He is Andy Dalton for a more glamorous franchise.
That's such nonsense.
Not at all. In fact, when all is said and done, Dalton may be remembered as a better quarterback than Romo.
Listen, let's talk about burdens. Let's talk about responsibilities. Let's see if your logic holds up, Stephen A. Let's see if you carry your burden. Max, Andy Dalton's laughable. I'm not going to even try to deal with that.
Not at all.
Let me ask you this, Stephen A. We know, because First Take has an animation we run on a regular basis, that you think Carmelo Anthony is a superstar. Is he a Hall of Famer?
No. In terms of, hold on, let me finish. In terms of the NBA. But in the basketball Hall of Fame.
2-10.
Time out.
2-10.
Allow me to educate. Hold on. You asked the question. Get educated. it says the Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. So his Olympic competition, he's a 3-time gold medalist, along with a national champion. I'm just telling you the truth. Along with the national championship at Syracuse, they take all of that into consideration before deciding whether or not you're a Hall of Fame in basketball.
Olympics
That's why he
in
would
Syracuse.
be. Hold on. That's why he would be a Hall of Famer. But in terms of an NBA Hall of Famer, I wouldn't say that Carmelo Anthony is an NBA Hall of Famer. So there you have it. These are facts.
Carmelo Anthony is a greater basketball player than Tony Romo is a football player anyway.
He has a worse playoff record. He's 2-10. He's been out of the first round twice.
He's a better basketball player than Tony Romo is a football player. There are close calls. That's not one of them.
Max, let me ask Will this question. Will, can I ask you this?
Yeah.
If Tony Romo played for someone other than the Cowboys, would you be making this argument?
Yes, I think being a Dallas Cowboys.
You just lied to America. You're lying. You're lying, and you know you're lying. There's no way you would sit up here and make this argument if this man had played for anybody other than the Cowboys. You're doing it because he played for the Cowboys.
So many of
not a Hall of Famer.
So many of his contemporaries are better than him. Will,
is Warren Moon a deserving Hall of Famer?
Hell
is Dan
yes.
Fouts a deserving Hall of Famer?
Moon is better than Romo.
Are you comparing Warren Moon to Tony Romo? Are you going to consider that level of blasphemy? You going to do that on national television?
Warren Moon, 3-7 in the NFL playoffs, never went to the Super Bowl and never went to a conference championship. Listen here, never went to the Super Bowl, never went to the conference championship game.
Thank you. That's where I was going, man.
Kept them out of the league for 6
Why you got for 6 years?
Let me finish. Warren Moon, 3-7 in the playoffs. Dan Fouts, 3-4 in the playoffs. Both in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Because they're better than Romo.
You're telling me that Tony Romo being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is helping his case? We have 2 examples right there of guys that played for other franchises with virtually identical resumes. And your rebuttal to me, Max, is they were better. That carries. Oh, Max Kellerman says they're better.
Clearly.
So step aside, Hall of Fame
Will,
voters. Max
no
Kellerman's
serious
spoken.
person would take Romo over Moon. And by the way, take a guy like Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is clearly better than Tony Romo. Is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer?
Max, you use words like better and clearly as though they're objective terms and they carry some weight of evidence in a debate. I'm giving you numbers. I'm giving you numbers and you use clearly and better as though you made a heavy point.
You know what? I'm done with you. I'm done with you. Well, go to hell back to Space Mountain. Go to hell back. Stand in line for 3 hours, okay? Stand in line for 3 hours. I'm not wishing that for your kids. I hope they get right to the end of the line and get on the ride. But you stand there in 3 hours, let the son of Florida, Orlando, Florida hit you. Just go away. I'm done with you. So put on your ears and go.
Stephen A.
I appreciate you saying not my kids because we all know.
Go to hell back to Space Mountain. Just go.
I appreciate you not.
For them.
Stephen A.
I appreciate you keeping my kids out of this because we all know Stephen A. loves the kids, right?
He sure does.
But secondly, is there a Stephen A. line at Space Mountain? Was there a special VIP lane? Because I'm a man of the people, Stephen A. That's how I roll.
When I
I'm
go
a man
to
of the people.
time out, I'm answering your
Fancy
question.
pants.
When I go to Disneyland or Disney World, I will be the first to admit I do go VIP style. I must tell you, I'm just being factual. You are not VIP. I am. There are levels to this, and you're getting there. That's why you're going back to stand online. Go. Just go.
Way to be a man of the people.
Bye.
Thank you for handling the double team so well. Yes, there we go. That puts a smile on my face. Always good to see you.
Logically consistent.
Bye.
Aren't you glad you took time off your vacation for this, Will?